When it comes to these large scale projects, right?
Yeah.
What do you look for when it comes to partnering people outside of the numbers being right?
And what I realize, it doesn't matter what I look for; it's what they're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
And usually, it's not a black dude. So,
Mm.
I half joke about it, but it's true because the industry, the real estate development industry, again, is largely majority older white males, right? And so, man, I liken it to a village. We all got our villages.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody outside your village walks up to your village and it's like, "What's up? Can I kick it in your village?"
Yeah.
Your immediate reaction is gonna be what?
Who
I
are
don't
you?
know this.
Yeah,
motherfucker.
hold on. Yeah.
So when it comes to investors and trying to do deals with people and partner, like, why would they partner with someone outside their village?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you tack on all the social isms,
Yeah,
racism, sexism, all the biases people have.
yeah.
Like, I'm a developer with braids, y'all. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
CEO with braids. How often do you see a CEO with braids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times people told me to cut my hair. And people who look like us, you're gonna need to cut your hair if you're really serious. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. And so, how do I get the real estate development community to allow me to just walk in their fridge
Yeah.
and it be cool?
That's real.
You know what I mean?
That's real.
And so, a lot of the time I have spent building my business has really been spent building relationships.
Mm.
It's not about the money. It's not about the real estate. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
like aligning myself with like-minded individuals
Yeah.
who then could turn into investors.
Yeah.
I don't look at people and be like, "Hey, that person could be an investor.
Yeah.
That person,
Yeah.
I'm like, is that a cool human?
There you go.
Like, is that someone who's just cool?
Yeah.
Someone who has great morals, great principles,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I can learn from. Everything else is just extra.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuning to the UpNUp podcast on the UpNUp network. I'm your host, Rebel.
And I'm DJ Erm.
What's up, brother?
What's up, bro?
How you doing?
Good, man. Feeling
Yeah?
good. Feeling great.
Based on what you're wearing, you can't wear this Jordan 6 shirt and not feel great, bro.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
did it for you, man.
I know you
it for
did. I know you did.
Yeah,
Anywho, well, first of all, if this is your first time tuning in, this is the UpNUp podcast, as I stated. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture, right?
Sir.
Do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, the hustlers, the shakers, people who are breaking down barriers, right? Not only for all of us currently here, but for the next generation, right? This is what we're doing it for,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Right? I'm blessed. You know, we always got to make sure we always acknowledge the supporters, the viewers, the listeners, the family. That's what we call them up
Yeah.
here, right? Those who've been
Yeah.
rocking with us since day one,
Most
and they've been
definitely.
rocking, right?
Definitely.
Some rocked off the boat, they jumped back on. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. That's a part of being
Yeah.
consistent and showing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're always here. We're always going to be here. So we appreciate everybody who's been riding with us throughout this journey.
Yes, sir.
We never say that enough. Outside of that, man, you know, I'm always blessed. I'm grateful coming in to do these episodes. I feel like we're always able to contribute what we can,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And preserving culture, preserving history, stories, you know?
Yep.
I feel like it gets watered down these days. You know, a lot of people are on microphones now, you know? But I feel like it's about what you're doing with it. And today is no different, man. Today's guest is, I would say he's a multifaceted professional, someone who's definitely established himself as a prominent figure in terms of Seattle real estate landscape, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a culture cultivator who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up. A little bit of background on the brother. He's the founder and CEO of Gardner Global, Inc., which is one of the leaders in real estate development, specializing in mixed-use, multifamily, as well as affordable housing. You know, he's also a published author, right, with his most recent book titled Believe in Yourself, which is a guide for entrepreneurs and young professionals. And most recently, we can put filmmaker on his resume, right?
Yeah.
With the release of his documentary film titled Sarah, which is actually in honor of his late grandmother, Sarah Queen Gardner. If you can't tell, this brother's well-rounded. But most importantly, I think he just encompasses what it means to show and prove, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is you're doing.
Yep.
And we're honored to have him in the building. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Our guest is none other than the good brother himself, Jaebadiah Gardner. Can we get a round of applause, man? Give it up. Give it up. How you doing, brother?
Solid, man. Solid. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
It's an
thank you for
honor,
being here, man.
Yeah.
How's the day treating you?
Can't complain, man. You know, another day, another dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't complain, man. I'm above ground. Got all the working faculties.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to start with the basics. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I just super thankful for that. So
Yeah.
outside of that, everything else is just ice cream on top. You know,
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm glad I'm here, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gotta
Yes,
start with
sir.
that gratitude,
Appreciate
man.
you, bro.
Gotta start with that gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we start every episode with the quote of the day. Something to get the vibe right, get the convo started.
Yeah.
Brother man, he's the man of the quotes over here. They don't let me tell quotes up here. Just-
One day, man. I
yeah,
told you, man.
that one
day.
day never.
All right,
doesn't
man.
happen
So
yet.
the quote of the day today is the only thing that's impossible is the thing you don't believe you can do. Yeah.
The only thing that is possible is a thing you believe you can do.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Muhammad Ali.
Mm.
Yep.
Sounds like
Ali,
something he would
Kumbaya.
say.
Yeah.
What do you think about that quote?
I mean, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I titled my book
Yes, sir.
that, you know. Sounds cliche, but it's so true, man.
Mhm.
So I definitely rock with that quote. Like, you got to start within yourself mentally. And if you don't think you can do something, you're not going to be able to do it.
That's real.
It's pretty basic,
That's
basic math, but it's the practice part that makes it hard. You got to practice that belief. So I get down with that. I like
Yes, sir.
that. I like that quote of the day, man.
Mhm.
DIY.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
So obviously, our platform is built on making sure we can allow people to come in here and tell their stories the way they want to tell them and share their journeys with us. But I always love to start these episodes just to get a sense of where you're currently at. We all go through different seasons in life and whatnot, but how would you describe the current season you're in right now?
Celestial.
Mm.
Super celestial. Atmospheric. Like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Mm.
I'm not supposed to be here. So, every day that I get to wake up is incredibly amazing. Taking the L's during the day, not getting things done the way I want to get done, or people telling me no,
Yeah.
like what have you. Like, all those things become trivial when you realize in the bigger picture that, like, I'm here.
Mm.
Mhm.
And I get to be surrounded by people that love me and that I love, and that's a choice. So for me, like, outside of professional, just like for like my state of being, it's just like, man, I couldn't be more thankful and grateful
Yeah.
and appreciative. And like, it's just a matter of like, how much can I give back? How much of that good positive energy can I toss back out in the universe
Mhm.
so that it just spins and replicates?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm on. It's just
Mm.
like, as soon as that positive energy hits me, man, I want to kick it right back out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I love that.
That's dope, man. So I do want to take it back. Being born in LA and then
Born in actually San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio.
But I grew up in LA.
Grew up in LA and then
A
you
lot of
moved
people know
here
that.
in '97, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yep.
It's homework out
So yeah, so I guess just talk about your early life, growing up. What was that like for you?
Yeah. No, I was. Most people don't know, but I was born in San Antonio, Texas. My dad was in
Yeah.
the military.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm not a Spurs fan. Like, I left when I
He
was
had to
like
say
a
that. He
baby.
had to say it for the record.
You know what I mean? Like, I left when I was young. I'm a Lakers fan.
Hey.
Like, you know what I
I
mean?
know I like this guy.
This is Lakers and Raiders. You know what I mean? When they were in LA.
Okay.
You know, that silver and black. I still rock. I'm a Seahawks fan too. It depends on who's actually. I got a beanie. I got a black and silver beanie, but with the Seahawk logo.
Okay.
Oh
So when
yeah.
I pull up to Raiders Seahawk games, Seahawk fans give me shit about like, when I turn around, they see the Seahawk logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing both sides of each other right now. Let me
All
do
these
that.
ain't no rules, man.
Yeah, exactly. My rules.
Mhm.
Nah, man, early life, man, honestly, I spent 5 years. First 5 years of my life or so was in Spokane,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then moved to LA. You know, like 80s baby, man. A lot of things were happening in the 80s,
Mhm.
particularly to black families, and nothing different with our family. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
parents fell victim to substance abuse. You know what I mean? And you grow up at an early age, seeing what that does to your family and what it does to your community, your neighbors, your friends, and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And you grow up early, man. We grow up early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you also get to see what track that you can be on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can hook a left, be with that,
Mm-hmm.
hook a right, and get that education and build a business and all that other stuff. So
Right.
it was a lot of daily confrontations, physically for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm definitely not afraid to stand up for mines
Right.
in any kind of way, and that's what LA did. It kind of like, just trained me.
Yeah, it's like a tough environment out there, right?
Yeah, man. I grew up in Southgate, so
Mm-hmm.
I was, there was like 1,500 kids who went to my junior high, and out of that 1,500, like 99% of those kids were Latino.
Mm.
And there was only a few black kids, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And
So,
you're both black and Mexican,
yeah,
right?
I'm black
Okay.
and Mexican.
Okay.
But I present as black. I'm
Yeah.
black, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm a minority amongst a minority in LA.
Yeah.
Mm.
In LA in the 90s, man, like gang culture was it is what it was. It was a
Right.
part of the culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And navigating that as a 11, 12, 13-year-old, man, you learn a lot of shit. You see, I don't know, can I cuss on
Yeah.
that? I don't know.
Yeah,
You
you
do
good.
whatever you want,
It's your
man.
world.
You good. Yeah.
You just see a lot, man. And not a lot of people are cut from that cloth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to have grandparents who raised me, who kept me out of the streets as much as possible. So
Yeah.
they were throwing me in little league baseball, basketball, all the things every season to keep me from just being at home or just hitting the streets with my neighbors.
Yeah.
So I'm super, super thankful and lucky that I had my grandparents there, my Mexican grandparents
Mm-hmm.
who raised me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they instilled some of the most basic foundational principles that I carry with me to this day.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for that early discipline learning,
Yeah.
who knows, man? Who
Yeah.
knows? And so I always harken back to those days of like, that was crazy, like to get about that situation. So I should be able to figure this shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
I
not
actually.
feel you.
This
That's-
is not nothing.
Yeah. I think
right.
reflection brings that though, right? I think I'm actually curious too, because in all that you're doing currently, right? When you look back at that time growing up and developing, I would say, were there moments or is there things you can look back on and say, man, this is literally what connects to what I'm doing now? Were
I
there
mean,
seeds planted back then that you can think
Yeah,
of?
I mean, like, for example, my grandparents would, my grandfather would pick me up from school every day.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I used to get so embarrassed, man, because he drove this jalopy of a whip. I used to hate to be seen in this.
Pick
thing.
me up around the corner, man. Pick me up around the corner.
Oh, there's Abuelo right there. I gotta hop in the whip. That's humbling,
Yeah.
And then getting home, though, one of the most important things they taught me, as soon as I got home, they wouldn't let me leave. They wouldn't let me leave the dinner table without finishing my homework
Mm.
first.
Mhm.
So phone calls ring, couldn't take phone calls. Neighbors would come up knocking on doors. He was Jaebadiah there. I want to play.
Yeah.
No, I could not do anything without doing my homework first.
Mhm.
So I learned at an early age that like I don't play until my work's done.
Mhm.
So that's always stuck with me
That's
to
real.
this day. When
That's real.
like I could go travel the world, I could go out on a Friday, I could do all these things. I got a little bread in my pocket. I want to go get some drinks. Well, did I get done what I need to get done?
That's real.
No,
Right.
so I'm not going out.
That's real.
Right.
I'm not traveling.
That's real.
You know what I mean? And so that's something that has stuck with me throughout my entire just life. And I see a lot of people playing before they execute.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
They want the result, but they don't want to do the work to get the result.
That's so
Mhm.
real.
And so I'm
Yeah.
like cut from the cloth where it's like, nah, I'm gonna stay at home until I get this done. When you see me out, as I'm out for a reason. I'm
Yeah.
out because my conscience is clear.
Yeah.
I'm out because like I closed the deal or I just got done the one thing I needed to do that day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I
And
mean?
you carve out that time for yourself and you make it for yourself.
Absolutely, you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
You have to. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's all smoke and mirrors and it's all for the gram.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
That's real.
It's that shit is so played out.
Mm.
And it's almost like I get secondhand embarrassment looking at social media these days. Like is someone talking to that person? Why are they posting this?
Gotta look away.
What is for real?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough, bro. It's a weird world we live in now where it's like
Mhm.
two different worlds. There's a digital and then there's real
Mm-hmm.
life,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Nah,
real.
I like the fact you brought that up. Like a lot of the times, like you said, like on a Friday, somebody would want to go out even though they got stuff to do,
Mhm.
and it's like that work ain't going nowhere. So you're gonna have to face it
Either
one way or
way.
another. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah.
like I like how you brought that up because for some of us it takes a long time to like finally be like, you know what, let's just take care of business first, and then
Got to, man.
yeah,
So it's second nature for me. I don't
Right.
even think about it anymore.
Mhm.
yeah,
It's just automatic. It's just like, no, I'm just not going anywhere until this is done.
right,
I'm
Yeah.
not leaving the office until this is done or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then honestly, for me, it's just like it then boiled from like creating discipline to now it's a conscious decision.
Mhm.
hmm
Like it's eating at my conscience that that this is not done.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And if I'm striving to like work at the highest level
Mhm.
professionally, what does that look like with me on a Friday night when I didn't get done when I needed to get
Exactly.
done?
Mhm.
I'm not
Exactly.
operating at the highest level.
yeah,
Yeah. So as we're moving along through your journey, right? And I think I'm glad you shared that because I feel like it definitely makes sense as to your trajectory and kind of where you ended up going, right? So you did attend University of Washington, Huskies. We
Go
talked about
Dogs.
that. You know what I mean? Hold it down for he hold
Yes,
it down.
sir.
We got a room full of cooks
Room
in
full
here.
of cooks,
I
man.
know.
tough crowd. So-
Oh, no, it's all good, man. Education, man. Get your education
facts,
right where it's
facts,
at,
sure.
man.
Facts. Right.
Now everybody's college experience is their experience, right? But for you, when you look at coming in, and then obviously you had more post uh post college experience with education as well. But what was that like going through that and then coming out of it? Like, how did it change you?
Like just getting through college, like undergrad and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess you can
Um,
even lump in.
Like law school.
Yeah,
and
you
all
can
that. Like, man, like I was fortunate enough to like have early mentors
Mhm.
that were students at UW.
Mm-hmm.
They created this outreach program. So I don't know if y'all remember, but back in the day, Washington used this initiative passed called I-200, and it
Mhm.
abolished all the affirmative action tools that universities and jobs were using to hire black and brown people.
Mm.
I-200 passed. There was none of that. Kind of feel like we're in the same spot, 2025. This
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
2000, right?
Yeah.
1999. And
Damn.
so a group of students at UW came up with the back door, which they created an outreach program, which I was fortunate enough to be a part of.
Mm.
So they couldn't go out and like meet a quota or say they were going after so many black and brown kids to admit to UW, but they created an outreach program, and those early mentors spit so much game.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like I was 17 years old reading Bell Hooks, James Baldwin, Frederick Douglass, like
Wow.
stuff that I wasn't reading in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to a private Catholic school. I went
Yeah.
to Kennedy for high school
Mm, okay.
when
Oh,
I moved
yeah.
up from LA. So
Okay.
I went from like public school, cholos everywhere and cholas everywhere to
Mhm.
like Kennedy, which was
Yeah.
all white, private,
Yeah.
and Catholic.
Yeah.
So I was like, like what is
Culture
happening?
shock for
What is
sure.
happening in my world here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just got I was fortunate enough to like, come in contact with these students at the time who are still my mentors to this day, and they
Mm.
were exposing us to readings that we weren't getting
Yeah.
in school. Like I
Mm.
didn't know the word social injustice existed in high school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
they're not talking about social injustice.
Yeah.
And even if they said it, what does that even mean?
Yeah, you never
You're
really
14, 15,
consciously
16.
thinking about
Yeah,
it.
what
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah.
So I got hip to game pretty early. And I was
Mm.
like, damn, man, this country really don't like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started UW with that mentality of like the odds are against all of us, that in a way where it was new to me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
That's real.
And so, you got to also remember, like growing up in Southgate, LA, like I just assumed I was Mexican.
Mhm.
All my friends are Mexican. My
Mhm.
family's Mexican. My
Mhm.
food's Mexican. My language is Spanish.
Yeah.
When I moved to Seattle, I thought the same shit. But I wasn't being treated like a Mexican. They were treating me like I was black. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, I'm black.
Yeah.
So I didn't really like
Yeah.
understand what my biracial identity meant till I moved to Seattle.
Mhm.
And then I had to adjust to like, oh snap, like, oh okay, I'm not one or the other. I'm both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I had to reconcile that going as a student, right? And then being okay with that and trying not to be too Mexican or not Mexican enough for the Mexican crowd or Latino enough or not black enough for the black crowd. And at a certain point, I was just like, I don't really give a. Y'all
Yeah.
can just
Yeah.
decide if you like me or not.
Yeah.
But I have the best of both worlds with
Yeah.
my family, my culture, and my
Yep.
food.
Yeah.
So that's how I moved. I still move like this to this day, man.
That's good.
But I was fortunate enough to like be super active on campus.
Mm.
Me and a good friend spearheaded a project where we built a monument on the campus at UW.
Mm.
Still there. It'll be there for the life of the entire university.
That's big.
And that was my
That's dope.
first kind of like introduction to diplomacy
Mm.
and getting things done.
Yeah.
Because we ended up lobbying the entire University of Washington to cough up $150K to build this monument
Mm.
and to buy art that is up on Kane Hall right
Yeah.
now. And this
Wow.
is 2000 and we got it done in 2005.
Okay.
So, you go into Kane Hall, which is the biggest lecture hall on
Yeah.
campus, and every piece of art you see there was handpicked by your boy.
Wow.
Yeah, we spent
Wow,
like
that's
50K
big.
in art. Me and my best friend Simona, we handpicked art. We were in the president's office.
Wow.
And busted out this booklet of U.S. artists of color, Japanese, Native, Black,
Wow.
Latino.
Wow.
We try to represent every culture we could, but that art's still up there, homie.
That's fire.
That's
Which
dope.
is dope. And then there's a monument that we built right outside Mary Gates Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know, but like it's a slave block.
Mm.
This is a whole slave block on the University of Washington campus.
Wow.
And that was like my mark and my legacy to leave. And so I've kind of been on this train,
That's
man,
amazing,
of just
bro.
like creating
Yeah.
space. Now I build housing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
create different spaces,
Yep.
for people. But it's just all about making sure that these cats get reminded that we contributed too.
Yeah. That's a hell of a way to make the most of the experience, because I feel like, college, you're going to learn in the classroom, obviously, but it's like you learn so much outside of that classroom. And it sounds like that's kind of what you did, was like you learned about who you wanted to be, and you had the opportunity to like take those actionable steps and build and challenge yourself, you know what I mean? And develop yourself too. That's real.
Like even the fact that you're like, okay, like what legacy I'm gonna leave at UW. I think that's like a big lesson just like in life in general. Like what am I gonna leave behind? So
Mhm.
I like the fact that you brought that up, man, for real.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just one of those things, man. Like I've always been entrepreneurial. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know how to harness it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to let it be free. I didn't know how to control it. I just didn't know a lot of things. But as I kind of was going through this process with my best friend building this monument inside an institution that has all these rules,
Yeah.
you learn quickly how to work within those rules to get shit done.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so learning that at 17, 18 years old,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, this is a microcosm of how the bigger system works.
Yep.
And it just gets more complicated, but it's the same thing. You
Mhm.
want something, they're telling you no.
Yeah.
They told us no for a year.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I just like, hey, I want to build a monument
Yeah, yeah,
dedicated
yeah.
to black people and put a slave block. And they were
Yeah.
like, great idea, Jaebadiah.
yeah.
No, they were like, what? Slave what? Yeah, remember that history when
Yeah.
you had us in chains?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want people to remember that.
Yeah.
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 That's,
Yeah. Facts.
No, I mean, but it's applicable, It's
Mhm.
applicable to everything you wanted to do moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't know, Gardner Global, you launched it in 2009, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I feel like when people see someone launch something, they don't know what leads up to that. And I love the lead up part because I feel like that's important. So can you just talk about like what you obviously graduated law school and then you had to go and kind of get into another industry, but what was that like, that development process leading up to saying you wanted to launch that?
Man, like I wrote the business plan my first year into my first job.
Mm.
My first job was building buildings downtown Seattle,
Okay.
working for Turner Construction.
Yep.
And so graduated from UW, didn't really know much. I had a connection, shout out Miss Ruby Jones. She worked at Turner, and she was a massive advocate with hiring black and brown people at the company. I was young, out of college, all the things. So she introduced me to the management, and I was able to get hired. I quickly learned that I really love building.
Mm.
Like I love building. Like I love putting on the hard hat and hearing all the sounds of construction,
Yeah.
the nails, the drilling, the welding. Like, oh, it was like productivity. Things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I had to learn how to actually build. And so I took that knowledge bank and getting yelled at every day and getting treated like shit every day because one of the only brothers on the job site that wasn't a laborer or a foreman or a journeyman.
Mm-hmm.
I'd show up with my little button up and my little hard hat. And,
Mhm.
like they would clown me, man. And I didn't like how that felt.
Yeah.
And I always told myself that when I built a company, I would strive to never make my employees feel this way,
Yeah.
to feel less than or undervalued, or just like like they're not worthy.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
that was so messed up, man. But shout out to them, man, because they really tested my nuts with like me having to stand up,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and stand up for myself. So
Yeah.
I learned how to build. I quickly realized that like building was cool, but I was so interested in like, well, who are we building for?
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, who's the client?
Yep.
At the time, it was Wright Runstead, and they were building the Harborview Medical Center,
Okay.
in the building next door to it, 9th and Jefferson building. And so I'm like, but the project budget is $150 million.
Mhm.
Who the fuck has $150 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how is that? That's not even, those numbers aren't fathomable to a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just had to start to do my research. Well, the client's a developer. What's a developer?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
And then from there, I just kept drilling down the questions, and they would get annoyed with me and be like, just shut up and work.
Mm.
Stop asking questions.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so I would go home and do my own research on what developers were. And I was like, oh my God, this is where a lot of the wealth is created.
Mm.
And this is where we don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers, are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so I just did some homework, man, and then I just thought about it for some time, and then I wrote a business plan, a real estate development plan, not knowing what it would lead to, but I knew that I wanted to acquire real estate and build wealth.
Mm.
That's all I knew. The nuts and bolts,
You had your why though.
yeah.
You had your why.
I had my why. I had
Yeah.
my
Right.
vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a whole vision statement. I had a
Yeah.
whole mission statement that I'm still adhering to this day. That
Yeah.
hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
16 years later. And so and then I realized too, being black, like I needed an advanced degree. I needed something else that would demand respect in certain rooms.
Mhm.
And so I was looking around at graduate programs. I didn't feel like masters would cut it because I worked professionally for 3 years. So I kind of feel like I got that piece. And so I came across law school and I was like, whoa, this is powerful. So I went off to law school,
Mm.
got that degree, focused on real estate, business, corporate law, negotiations, and built my company based off of everything I learned in law school. So
Mm.
Yeah.
as I was taking contracts, I was downloading contracts.
Mm.
Wow.
As I was taking business, I was downloading LLC agreements, shareholder agreements, investor agreements, and reading those and changing the name out from whatever name to Gardner Global.
Yeah.
And I built my corporate documents from my law school experience.
Mm.
Wow.
Which, if you look at startup costs in a company, if you want to do it right, if you have the means to start up a company and have all your line items taken care of, you're looking at a $25,000 minimum lawyer bill
Yeah.
to build out your corporation or
Mm.
LLC. If you want to
Yeah.
do it right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? The corporate inside guts of your company. When you go to close on a property or you want to get a loan, they're going to ask for all these documents.
Yeah.
That's a cool 25 piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Not everybody has 25K just to give to the lawyer.
Yeah.
when
Especially
they're
out
starting
the
a
gate.
company.
Especially out the
Yep,
gate. Yeah.
Out the
exactly.
gate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
got to figure it out. Like, do I go to the Washington Secretary of State?
Yeah.
How much is that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's, that's not something that I was taught.
Yeah.
And so going to law school, they were like, oh, here's how you do it. Here's how you start a business. Here's how you build a business. And I was like, oh, yes, this is what I needed.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is exactly what I came here for. And that's what I did, man. So the same corporate documents that I drafted in 2009 are the same corporate documents I'm submitting to escrow when I'm closing on $1 million of real estate.
Mm. That's where do you, I guess, looking back at that time, right? Because now and what you're doing, everything's affirmed, but like when you start Gardner Global, what was it like kind of getting it off the ground? You know what I mean? What did that feel like? Because it's 2009 at the time, right? So
Yeah, recession full effect. I remember somebody laughing at me because I told them I was starting a real estate company. Literally laughed at me, like, because the whole housing market collapsed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And real estate was like untouchable.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I started a development company. I just remember this guy. I don't remember who he was. It was like some networking event. I remember laughing, like, ha, ha, ha. And he was like, do you not know what's going on? Do you not see what's going on? Why would you do that? And in my head, I was like, I thought you're supposed to buy low, sell high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting a
Yep.
development company at the bottom barrel of this economic recession. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can grow it
Mhm.
later.
Mhm.
Like, you invest in stocks, right? You got a
Mhm.
401k? Like, You don't pull out, you let it ride.
Exactly.
So I let it ride. I just believed in myself, man, and it took me a long time, but like I had to understand that real estate development is a marathon. This is not a tech company.
Yeah.
This isn't a turn and burn. Like you build something and sell it. This is like you invest. You got to understand what you're investing in, and then now you want to build.
Yeah.
That's a whole other process.
Be
That's a whole other
patient.
bucket of money you got to raise.
Gotta be
It's
patient.
Yeah.
all the things, man. And so I had to learn all these things, man, and surround myself with a really amazing mentor. Shout out to my mentors and my board members, people who've done this,
Yeah.
you know, for decades.
Yeah.
And I get real close to them, and I just ask them every question that I can ask them. And then you don't learn without making mistakes, man. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Experience is the best teacher. That's what they say.
Like people see a little bit of the results now, but which is why I built the film, which is why I made the short film.
Yeah.
Because I had my boy, Atwanya Preacher, shout out A Real Grip. I've had him follow me around with a camera since 2012 when I had negative business. So 2012 up until now, I got all this crazy footage of me going to meetings and me trying to convince architects to work with me, even though I had no money to pay them. Me trying to meet with investors, and they're like, haha, yeah, Jaebadiah sounds good. And then I never hear from them again. Like, list goes on.
Yeah.
He documented a lot of that.
That's amazing.
So when people see me today and they go, oh, he bought up the CD, he bought up Skyway.
Yeah.
Nah, Ninja, like,
Yeah.
I've been told no, been fell on my face, been burnt.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine, almost lost I have lost everything before.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now I value what I have.
Yeah.
So that shit ain't ever gonna happen again.
Context is important,
real.
bro. Context is super important. Because I think, you know, on the topic of social media, which you brought up earlier, and how we're very much seeing surface level highlight reels of everybody's lives, it seems like. You know, I love seeing people win, but what I love the most is being curious about how they did it. What went into all of that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so I'm glad you're sharing this because I think context is very important, which is why, I mean, this platform is built, obviously, but yeah, bro, thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess for the people that don't know, because we always hear about development and developers, so like, what's, I guess, a general breakdown of like the role of a real estate developer? Yeah,
for sure, man. Like, I can't wait till there's like an army of Black developers right
behind me.
Latino developers right behind me.
Yeah.
Because it's all it is an education gap. Otherwise, it'd be more of us. And also, too, it's very location based. If you go to DC, hella young Black developers. You go to Atlanta, hella young Black developers.
Yeah.
You go to Chicago, hella young Black developers.
Yeah.
Owning half of I got a friend, shout out to Leo. This dude's in his mid-30s and he owns half the south side of Chicago.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's doable, but we're in a city where we're already in low numbers population-wise.
Yeah, very low.
So historically, so who's gonna teach y'all the game if no one's been in the game?
Yep.
Who's gonna teach me the game if no one in my community has been in the game?
Yeah.
I had to go out and throw myself in the game and get ran over.
Yeah.
I've never driven a NASCAR, but I decided to get behind the wheel and start driving.
Someone got to
crashed
do it.
every lap, right?
Yeah, that's so real.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm winning races.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes time. So, you know, as far as the developer's concerned, and also I'll say this too, this is super interesting. A lot of people call themselves developers.
Yeah.
And like, you just got to be very careful with like how you label yourself, because if you ain't put in the work to be a developer, you shouldn't be calling yourself a developer, because that's disrespect, mad disrespect to the people who have put in the work.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of people out there like, oh yeah, I'm a developer, and I'm like, okay, so you guaranteed a $6 million loan, you put your name on that? Did the bank back you for 6 M's? And did you sign that if something goes wrong, they're taking your dog and your left leg?
Yeah.
If you have not done that, you're not a developer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may want to be a developer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may want to be at that space, and that's okay. But like to label yourself a professional athlete when you haven't put in the work to be a professional athlete, it's mad disrespect to the professional athletes.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of clouds the space in a way where those who actually have the actual expertise and knowledge and are trying to share the information, get overshadowed sometimes because someone else may have a bigger platform,
Yeah.
may be more influential. You see it nowadays with there was just a dude complaining about different podcasters, and one has a larger platform and a larger voice, but is less educated
Mm-hmm.
than some of the folks who are more educated.
Be killing me with that, man.
You know what I mean? So
Killing me
it
with
kind of
that.
sounds like that's a example of that. You know?
Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. Like, I get it. You know, it's sexy to be a developer now,
Yeah.
but where were y'all in 2009?
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't hear no one talk about gentrification in 2009.
Yeah.
I didn't hear no one talk about building black wealth in Seattle in 2009, 10,
Yeah.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
17. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
bro, I've been preaching this shit for a minute. And I love the fact that like cats have like caught on to the language
Yeah.
Mhm.
and are like, yo, this is black wealth. Yeah. Invest in property.
Yeah.
Be a developer. I love that. But it's also like you gotta also respect the people who've been putting the groundwork and laying the groundwork, so that way the people who could come after us
Yep.
have an easier path to get there,
Yeah.
versus just showing up and just because you got a microphone. Yeah, I'm a developer.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta respect. No, that's real though. I think that. I
For
think.
real.
Okay.
Yeah, you ain't
Cool.
lying.
Sounds good, but
Yeah.
say that in a room full of real developers.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Back
think.
in LA, you get your ass jumped for saying some shit that
Yeah.
ain't true.
That's
Yep.
real. That's
Yep.
real.
Exactly.
No, I
Exactly.
understand that. I understand 100%. Well, I'm actually curious, bro. Like, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about the industry you're in, but one thing I am curious about is when it comes to these large scale development projects, right? Now, obviously, it requires more than one person to do bigger projects, but when it comes to attracting partners or say potential investors, outside of the numbers being right, like what makes someone appealing to partner with, and what do you look for to make those things happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I realized I didn't really answer your question either. I'm
it's
gonna
all
double
good.
back
It's
real
all
quick,
good.
Okay.
just real quick.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll get to your question. So to be a real estate developer, this is my perspective. This is Jaebadiah's perspective. Is you gotta have a supremely high level of risk tolerance, meaning you're putting up your own capital, which is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes you are soliciting capital from others that you're investing,
Mhm.
which is scary.
Yep.
Identifying a piece of real estate that you can extract the value from, which is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Not every piece of real estate is gold.
Yeah.
Mm.
Turns out,
You would
know?
think so, though. Huh?
I mean, for the most part, but at the same time, you could be buying a piece of property, didn't study the soil, and all of a sudden you have a contaminated piece of land that's
Yeah.
going to cost you $3 to $6 million to decontaminate
Yeah.
that you don't have, and now
Yeah.
you're sitting on a property that,
That's
anyway.
right.
So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy to identify, the actual proper asset itself. So you
Mhm.
got to take a lot of time to do your due diligence to find. Like most people, when they're looking for their first home, they don't just buy the first home they see on the
Mhm.
market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Take their time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing with commercial development, except it's just a longer period of time and 1,000 more details to figure out. And then ultimately, in my mind, what makes a real estate developer is you take all the bullets and all the arrows because you risked everything just to create some housing for people.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if you know what it's like to be like, I could wake up tomorrow, this thing goes sideways. It all falls on me.
Yeah.
Not my project manager, not my architect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's responsible. Then you're a developer.
That's
Yeah.
real.
You know,
That's real.
it's like boxing. It's one-on-one.
Yeah.
You get knocked out, it's on you. Your coach wasn't in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's on you. So to be a real estate developer is super lonely, super difficult. But also it's amazing because you collaborate with really cool people,
Yeah.
really cool community members,
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah.
Like the list goes on. So you got to be willing to have that high risk tolerance, and then you got to be able to be the last person in the ring. You ain't gotta always knock everybody out, but
Mhm.
just be the last one
Stay standing.
standing.
Stay
yo.
standing. Don't fall.
yeah.
You
Don't
ain't
fall.
gotta have the most money,
Yeah.
but just be the last one standing with a couple dollars in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know
Resilience.
what I'm saying? If I have 4
For real.
quarters, that's still $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I love that. That's a great metaphor, just for life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Man, that's dope. So, I guess going back to like Gardner Global, how did On Point kind of stem from that?
Yeah, yo. So a lot of people, they may or may not know, but I started the company building the property management side.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I moved out to Grand Rapids, Michigan to go to law school, I was hustling property management business in Seattle from Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
What that means was I had a friend who was in property management, worked for another company, and people were kind of like starting to hear that I was in real estate. So what I would do, and like, when you're a law student, you're broke as all can be. So what I would do was I would connect with certain friends who were homeowners. They would eventually call me and say, hey, like, me and my wife and my girlfriend are moving out. How do we rent our place? I'm like, I got you. So I was leasing up homes from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Damn.
And having my boy who was in Seattle do the showings.
Mm.
And then I'd have the paperwork to execute the lease. So
Got it.
so I was in law school, whatever, and my boy would text me, I got like 3 showings today. That's what's up.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, I think I found the right tenant. We had a whole online portal that we use. People would apply online. I think will come back good, yay or nay. And then I would execute a lease. And then how typically your fees work is for property management is you collect the first month's rent in full.
Yeah.
And then you collect 10% after that. So I would lease up a townhome in Federal Way for $1,200 a month. And I would split $600 with my boy in Seattle. And I would do that on the hustle while I was in school.
Wow, that's
so I was
amazing.
leasing up homes from Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Because in law school, and be like, bing, but like, oh, I got another one.
There you go. There you go.
And it wasn't big
Hell
money,
yeah.
but like, man, that's $600 when you're a law student,
No.
randomly coming in.
Yeah.
So that's how I built the business. And so when I came back to Seattle, and I was moving on the property management piece, it was kind of weird to have a property management company called Gardner Global.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, and it's a part of our lexicon. I was always like, oh, that's on point. That's on point.
Yeah.
That's on
Ah,
point.
I got
That's
you.
on point. So
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it as much. I just went to Secretary of State, on point, property management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
It was
Yeah,
good.
it fits though. It's great.
And then that's how
Yeah.
it and
I
then
love
so now I was able to make yard signs and whatnot on
Yeah.
point real estate.
Yeah.
And that's how On Point came to be, which is a subsidiary of Gardner Global.
Right.
I
So
love
Gardner
that.
Global owns On Point.
Okay, got it.
That's dope, man.
I wanna come back to my question because
Oh,
yeah, because I'm super curious about that. Do you need me to repeat it?
Yeah,
or you
yeah,
good?
yeah,
Okay, yeah. So, when it comes to these large scale projects, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Because I'm curious, what do you look for when it comes to partnering with people outside of the numbers being right?
Man, what I realized, it doesn't matter what I look for, it's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And usually it's not a black dude. So,
Mm.
your name isn't Smith, Tim Smith, 2 first names with a comb over?
Tim Smith. It's crazy.
Like, no, I'm not actually. Nah, I half joke about it, but it's true because the industry, the real estate development industry, again, is largely majority older white males, right? And so, man, I liken it to a village. We all got our villages. And when somebody outside your village walks up to your village and it's like, what's up? Can I kick it in your village?
Yeah.
Your immediate reaction is going to be what?
Who
I
are
don't
you?
know this.
Yeah,
motherfucker.
hold on. Yeah.
Where you come from?
Yeah.
Where did you come from?
Due
Pull up on
diligence.
my village. Do you not know
Mhm.
who, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
same thing with the real estate industry is it's like an onion, right? You got to peel it back till you get to the middle. But I saw myself like walking into a village, expecting them to embrace me when I'm not a part of that village.
Mm.
So when it comes to investors and trying to do deals with people and partner, like why would they partner with someone outside their village?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you tack on all the social isms,
Yeah.
racism, sexism, all the biases people have.
Yeah.
Like I'm a developer with braids, y'all. Like I'm a
Yeah.
CEO with braids. How often do you see a CEO with braids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times people told me to cut my hair. And people who look like us, you're gonna need to cut your hair if you're really serious. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Like there's certain things you need to acquiesce to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain things where if you feel like it's part of your identity or you'll lose your identity, I won't do that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's my hair, boy.
It's like, what does that have to do with what we're trying to get done?
If
Exactly.
these people who are outside my village are stuck on my hair, then they're gonna be stuck on my hair until
Yeah.
I get a deal cracked.
Yeah.
And so now it's not a thing, right? It's so for me, to go back to your question is like, how do I interact with a community or village that isn't used to seeing me in that space?
Mm.
Number one, got to make them feel comfortable. The more someone comes over your house, you know, the
Yep.
more you're comfortable.
Right.
At first, they come over, sit on the couch, really timid. By the 12th time, they're in your fridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
That's
what
real.
I mean?
That's
Like,
real.
and so how do I get the real estate development community to allow me to just walk in their fridge
Yeah.
and it be cool?
That's
Mhm.
real.
You know what I mean?
That's real.
And so a lot of the time I have spent building my business has really been spent building relationships.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's not about the money. It's not about the real estate. It's about relationships,
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
like aligning myself with like-minded individuals
Yeah.
who then could turn into investors.
Yeah.
I don't look at people and be like, "Hey, that person could be an investor.
Yeah.
That person, you know."
Yeah.
I'm like, is that a cool human?
There you go.
Mhm.
Like, is that someone who's just
Mhm.
cool?
Yeah.
Someone who has great morals, great principles,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I can learn from. Everything else is just extra. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the investors who are invested with Gardner Global are not people who like I haven't known. Like
Yeah.
I've known them for a long time.
Yeah.
And for the people who are newer, it's because I vibe with them just
Yeah.
outside of the money piece.
Right.
Mm.
And they're just like, bro, like I feel the same way as you do. And I was like, well, I got this opportunity.
Yeah.
And they're like, that makes sense. So that's how I approach,
I like
you know,
that.
finding people to invest
Mhm.
in the deal is I don't sell it. I hate people trying to sell me on things.
Mm.
Why would I do that to someone else? I have the best deal, best returns. No, I don't.
yeah.
I don't. But I have a
Yeah.
really cool project that you'll feel
Yeah.
really good about.
Yeah.
And it will make money
Mhm.
if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Here's the terms. Those terms align with your vision and your plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. If not, cool.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
alignment.
yeah.
Alignment is important
Yep.
though.
Like
Exactly.
I'm not tripping. Like
Yeah.
I've said no to bread before. Like
Yeah.
because people aren't good humans, man. They're just
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm looking down the line like 5 years from now, they're gonna be assholes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be tied to that.
That's
you know?
important. That's
Yeah.
important though. I think not just with what you do, but I think in general, because if the ship sinks, at least it's sinking with people I actually rock with.
For sure.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? As opposed to like, oh shit, why did I? You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
ever want to have that feeling.
Or they're like, go plug the hole, plug the hole, plug the hole. And you're just like, I only have so many arms. Versus
yeah.
having someone who goes, I'll help plug this hole. You
Mhm.
go take care of that one.
Mm.
You know, and
That's
then
real.
keeps the boat afloat.
Yep.
You know, so I'm super appreciative and thankful that I have some really amazing individuals who are invested in Gardner Global. And I have two institutions, large institutions, that one of them everyone knows about,
Mhm.
which is Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, and making sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, because they're a behemoth
Mhm.
Yeah.
of a business, of a company, right?
Mhm.
And so, but finding alignment with the people that I'm working directly with was super key,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and not bending on what I thought was important, which was building Black wealth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, you know, well, you know, we need certain metrics that need to be hit. I
Yeah.
understand that, but like I can't hit my metric of building Black wealth with hitting that metric. So where's the compromise?
Mm.
Mhm.
You know,
That's real.
where's a win-win?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I try to look for. So, you know, if you're trying to close a deal with a large institution and whatnot, you got to find alignment. And it took me 9 months to close Amazon
Mhm.
for $4.5 million. It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
It
sure.
started with them telling me no at first,
Yep.
and then telling me maybe, and then telling me no again, and then telling
Yeah.
maybe, and then going back and forth.
Mhm.
And then finally, you know, they were like, okay, we're going to give you a shot, young buck.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all I need.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's all I need. And then so goes the story. So I went from nothing to 4.5 million. And
Yeah. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah, that's dope.
Also, what I'm pulling from this is, like, if you truly have a vision, it's not about you, right?
Mhm.
So it's like you're saying, like, I'm trying to build something that's going to be for the next generation and for others to take advantage of. You know what I mean? And I think it's harder to get those bigger things done when it's all about you.
Mhm.
That's real.
Mhm.
man, truer words can never be spoken, man. There's a lot of people. There's a few people I would say in Seattle who they say the word community, but they're really talking about themselves,
Mm.
Yeah.
and that shit grinds my gears, man. So you know, don't be fooled by people who are like, I'm about the community. If they're saying they're about the community,
You don't gotta say it.
you ain't gotta say it,
Right.
bro. Let the work
Right.
show itself. Well,
Yeah.
I'm about the community. I'm just okay. Are you about the community, or are you just about trying to get a grant for yourself to sustain your Tesla?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
real.
Yep.
That's some
Which
real
is
shit.
like, why do I thought you're about the community when you're supporting Elon Musk? Okay,
Yeah.
story for another day.
Elon
Yeah.
just caught it straight. Hey, no, it's real though. It's real though.
I just don't make it make sense.
No,
is all
you're
I'm
right, you're
saying.
right.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
make it make sense.
Exactly.
Be consistent.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
about my black people, but supporting someone who does the Nazi salute sign.
Mm. Yeah, guy.
Okay, bro, I'm supposed to take you serious now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You about the community.
yeah,
Me too.
things got to check
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Exactly.
real though, because like even in doing what we do with our platform, like we've had I'd say we've had the honor of being able to sit down with folks that are doing the work, right?
Mhm.
And some who are very much notable and people know of, and then people who no one knows of,
Yeah.
but we know you're doing the work.
Sure.
And that's the thing that keeps me inspired at the same time, because it's like, yo, like sometimes, man, some people make way more noise than the work is making noise, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
I always live by like, just let your work make way more noise than you ever could. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's real, bro. I love
100%.
that. I
And
love
you ain't
that.
gotta say much.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Have a
Exactly.
2030 union.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I did want to get into that project, Sarah Queen,
Yep.
right? Can you first talk about the film, and then we can obviously tie that to the project? Is that
Yeah,
cool?
because it's all tied in. I did the
Mhm.
film to like.
Yeah.
Man, this is all. There's a method to the madness.
Yeah.
man. I'm
Please,
not out
please
here-
explain that, because
I'm
I
not out
think
here just willy nilly doing weird projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I do, but like this is very. I'm pretty strategic with my chess moves, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the film project was another chess piece that I saw on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and I just decided to like let's have fun,
Mm-hmm.
but also control my narrative.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest thing. Cats like, because it's a social media thing, right? Like
Mhm.
you can watch someone's Instagram for a month and feel like you know them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't know that person, right?
That's
Yeah.
real. That's real
And
talk.
so what I shared with the short film, Sarah, is everything that I've never shown online. Because I don't post private moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna catch a picture of my bathroom in a selfie. Like you will never see what my bathroom looks like.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not me. It's
Unless
just,
you're on MTV
Right,
Cribs or
right.
something. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You know, like that's cool for some people. It's just
Yeah.
not me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A long-winded way to say that, like, I don't post a lot of personal things on my social. Very,
Mhm.
very rare. So I saw this as an opportunity to like build a film where I could be ultra vulnerable
Mhm.
Yeah.
and share crazy personal things,
Mm-hmm.
imagery, really.
Mhm.
You know, my biological mother who just recently passed, brain cancer. There's a bald headed white woman in that film, y'all, and if you see her, that's my mother.
Mm.
My abuelitos, full blood Mexican, man. If you ever question where I came from, there it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My sister, my nephew, like things I never show,
Mm.
and then it's all kind of like a slow build up to like, oh, Southgate, LA, growing up Mexican,
Mm.
purchased half an acre of land in the Central District in Seattle, Washington.
Mm.
How do we reconcile that?
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to share in a film artistic way
Mhm.
a little bit about the background, but more about the process. So the next iteration of what you'll see out, this is it's only an 8-minute film,
Okay.
very
Mhm.
short.
Mhm.
But we're deciding on how to build upon this 8 minutes, whether it's going to be actual feature film,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, like 60 minutes,
Mhm.
or several series of
Mm.
8 minutes, right?
Mhm.
All leading up to the process of how do you build Black wealth? How did this building get purchased in
Mhm.
in the CD? People don't even know how I did that, right? They just
Mhm.
hear that I bought it. They have no idea how I did that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to share that in this film, right? So that way other cats can go, oh, actually, I know that dude. He's a real person.
Yeah.
And he actually really did it, which means that this formula must work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
add your own little gumbo sauce, or you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's really what it is, man. Is to kind of shed some light on the development process. Because what
Okay.
does a developer do?
Right.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now people at least will get an inside look, especially from our community.
Yeah.
There's young bucks coming up.
Yeah.
Now they get to see an example of a Black developer in Seattle.
And what motivated the project too, right?
Mhm. Yeah, which is my it's just crazy how this one, I have 4 deals and they're all different. The Sarah Queen project came about because I got wind that the bishop was selling the property. Hard-nosed negotiation. Shout out to Bishop Witherspoon. Wouldn't be here with this opportunity if it wasn't for him selling us
Yeah.
the property.
Mm-hmm.
But I named it after my grandmother because my grandmother was a church-going woman Monday through Monday. She was in the church in Spokane, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens I'm buying a church in Seattle, Washington. She was an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
She's one of the first entrepreneurs in our family, owned
Mhm.
2 or 3 salons in Spokane. She's actually in a book called Black Pioneers of Spokane. And
She opened
so-
the first beauty salon in Spokane, right?
I don't know if it was the first, but they call her the Black Pioneer of Spokane.
Okay, we'll take it. We'll
so-
take
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
we'll
you
take
know,
it.
like
Yeah.
she's in the 70s in the hotbed of KKK zone.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, 60s and 70s, and she opened up a whole shop, a Black woman.
Wow.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
That's
two or
powerful.
three of them.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
On Sprague Street.
real.
So she's a savage, yo.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
real. That's
Yeah,
powerful.
Sarah Queen. So that entrepreneurism and business like kind of carries a little bit through me, right?
Mhm.
And then like when she was taken from us in '87, her service was held at Calvary Church in Spokane, and the church I was buying was Mount Calvary.
Mm.
So there were so many lines of synergy, man. I felt like she would just talk. She was just telling me.
Mm.
Yeah.
She was just telling me, yo,
Yeah.
this is me.
Yeah.
And so it sounded and it just sounded right and it fits and it's just like it just works, man. And so this building is a homage to her, but it's really a homage to like Black women in business, Black women entrepreneurs.
That's
Yeah.
real.
And so like I'm hoping to create a lot of the retail space that we have.
Mhm.
I'm trying to load that up with as many Black entrepreneur women as possible.
Mhm.
The art is going to speak directly to that
Yeah.
in the history of
Nice.
the Black church.
I love that.
So very subtle, but like, where do you go in Seattle where the building talks about Black women?
Yeah.
Where do you go? I'm hoping this is a space for that, you
Mm.
know, and people feel great about living in that space.
I love that.
You know?
I
So
love that.
that's why I'm naming the building after her.
Man, that's dope, man. That's powerful, man. Like even for us to see that project come about, man, it's gonna be fire, bro. You know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Definitely. I also wanted to ask you. I know you touched on Black wealth and stuff a little bit. So I guess what's your definition of wealth?
Good call. Yeah, my definition of wealth honestly has nothing to do with money.
Mm-hmm.
Has everything to do with like, well, I have like four pillars. Like you have relationship wealth, you have intellectual wealth, you have asset-based wealth. I don't know what the fourth one is, but I have another one in there somewhere. The relationship wealth piece and the intellectual wealth piece all creates the actual monetary asset-based wealth, especially if you don't come from shit.
Yeah.
This is not my formula isn't a formula for someone who came from resources.
That's real.
Yep.
That's not my formula. My formula is like if you grew up going to Payless shoe store, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
getting the plastic Pro Wings.
Yeah. Shout out Payless.
Shout
man.
out Payless, man. That's what I was just about to say.
Shout
Too.
Shout
That's
out Payless
crazy.
one time,
The
man.
plastic Pro Wings, man,
Yeah.
for the $16 spot.
Yeah.
You know, like this is what this formula is for someone who understands that. Go to school every day. They got the new Barclays, the Hardaways, the Jordans, and I'm just sitting there like rocking the plastic Pro Wings, man. And that feeling is like, if that don't motivate you,
Yeah.
I don't know what else will, man.
Yeah.
So for me, what wealth means to me is building that relationship capital, building that intellectual, which is getting my education,
Mhm.
learning as much as I can learn,
Mhm.
being a master of my craft. Yo.
Mm.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is like, you got to be a master of your craft. Then no one can tell you shit.
Yeah.
And it's not like there's not more space to learn. There's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
more space to learn. But when you become a master of your craft, an expert in your industry, man, that like sets you apart. Like
Yeah.
I don't compete in the same arena as everyone else. I have my own arena. I run
Yeah.
my own track.
Yeah.
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 I'm not racing against no one. I'm racing
Yeah.
against myself.
Yeah, that's set your pace. Don't react to the race.
Yeah,
That's
there we
come
go,
on, man. That was,
man.
you just threw that mob
Yeah.
right there. That's our
Like,
slogan
cats
right
try to
there.
run up next to me and try to keep up and like, oh yeah, I just got a pair of Louboutins too, or I just did this. I'd be like, that's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would tell me that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not,
For
You
real.
know,
I'm not like I'm happy for you, but like I'm not doing it. I'm not competing, bro.
yeah.
Yeah.
Circling
with me.
circling back
Yeah.
to kind of what you talked about before, how you said there was an information gap
Yeah.
when you first came in, right? I think where you're at now,
Still an information.
you're still
gap.
learning, right?
Yeah.
But I think you're gonna help accelerate the process for others, so
Yeah.
that gap doesn't exist for them at that point. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's we were talking about this too. I really feel like generational wealth is that. It is the knowledge, bro, because that is going to give someone a better chance of building wealth for themselves versus just handing them some money. You know?
bro.
So I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Hit the nail on the head, man. You know, I often get asked all the time, like, you know, well, they'll ask in any space, you know, what's the most important thing that a business person needs, entrepreneur needs, and they'll say capital,
Mhm.
capital. No, man, like
Yep.
if you don't know how to hang on and treat the capital, you're gonna burn through it and blow it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why Amazon invested in Gardner Global, you know, in 2021 versus 2009. If Amazon slipped me a check for $4.5 million in 2009, and I didn't go through any trials or tribulations, or none of experiences, I wouldn't have known how to create the wealth. I wouldn't know how to flip that
That's
4.5 to 16 million.
That's
I just wouldn't have known.
That's real.
And so a lot of the times, like, it's in it, and this is like speaks to the instant gratification piece. If you're really about that life, really about that business entrepreneur life, you got to just suck it up and take your lumps and get your experience level up. So then when the bag comes, it gets dropped in your lap, you know exactly what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, preparation.
Like, all I need is, 300,000 and I'll be good. How long you been in business? 2 years. What are you gonna do with that 300 grand?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Build a website.
Yeah.
Okay. Hire 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's something to letting the universe get those reps in.
Yeah, measure twice, cut once.
You know?
That's real.
Yep.
That's so real.
right
Because
there.
I mean, I've been through it. You know, you the eagerness and enthusiasm to just go head first is needed, but at a certain point, you're gonna have to learn.
And here's my thing. Like, if the eagerness and enthusiasm is still there after you cracked your head
Yeah, that's real.
over and over and over again, then you
Yeah.
know you're onto something.
Yep.
Yeah,
But if you give up after that first try, or you give up at all, that means you ain't built for this life.
that's real.
You're not.
Yeah.
So and people see right through that. So why would they invest? Why are you complaining that they're not investing in you?
Yeah.
They know that you're about to quit.
I think you just got to be because like you got to be sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be a minimum of time that you've put in for them to look at you and say, okay, you're serious about this.
Unless you're a unicorn, which happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's why they're called unicorns.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's very rare. So
Yeah.
get your reps in, take your lumps, and don't rush the process, man.
That's real.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because you don't want to fumble the bag.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like, I just got a grant.
Yeah.
First bag they've ever touched. 2 months later, I need another grant.
Yeah. It literally goes back to the risk tolerance
real.
you're talking about. Like, if you're just like, man, all I need is this X amount of money, and you get the money, and you're kind of scared that you got the money, you could kind of feel it like, I don't think I should be having this. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
kind of goes back to that.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I love that. Bro.
Also, I know you probably kind of touched on this a little bit, but how has your view of wealth like evolved from the beginning of your career to like now?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, it's so interesting, man, because I listen to a lot of Young Dolph.
Oh man,
R.I.P.
shout out Dolph, man.
R.I.P. Dolph,
Man.
#1 hustler, man.
Man.
So music is crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, I say that because if you look at wealth in its traditional sense and who has it, and then you put Dolph in the same room, just a funny mix to me. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's my reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, I come from a particular environment and family space, but yet I'm in this space also where there's a lot of wealth and people with a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much about wealth by partnering with people who have it
Yeah.
and meeting with people who have it and making friends with people who have it. And you learn how they move.
Mhm.
And it is never quick,
Mhm.
And so it went from like, okay, cool, wealth is assets and all the things I talked about earlier. And then you get a little bit and then you're like, but like, what you think is something, and then you're
Yeah.
watching all these other people
Yeah.
who have 20 million trillion times more,
Yeah.
and you would never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would never know. Bro, they're so quiet about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
When they want to let you know, they'll let you know.
Mhm.
That's real.
You know what I mean? They're wearing sandals and socks, driving a Prius.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they invite you to dinner over the house, and it's overlooking the whole Puget Sound, and they have an
Mhm.
elevator in it.
Yeah.
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 And you're like, but you're the sandal and sock guy.
Sandal sock guy. Yeah.
Wait
Well,
a
I mean,
minute.
hey, man, everybody got their reasons for why they have it and what they want to do with it.
100%.
That's
Yeah.
real. I love that.
100%. So, being around that
Yeah.
helps shape my perspective.
Right.
And then, being around other real estate developers and having mentors who really have taught me to like, you don't need just because you got it, you don't need to show it.
Mhm.
Just because you have it doesn't mean you need to spend it.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And and learning how do I balance that with like my lifestyle, my reality,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but doing it organically
Yeah.
in my own way, and not coming off as a front. It's
Yeah.
like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're just kind of like, yeah, why are you driving a Rolls Royce, homie?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, or like, come on, man. E40 said this 20 years ago. Don't buy an $85,000 car before you buy a house.
Mm.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So those kind of principles kind of stick with me with having, you know, folks around me, and
True.
and also too, like, man, you just see how people in Seattle specifically, they really look down upon cats who flash.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
like real wealth in Seattle, they don't like it when you flash it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They'll let you know in certain moments that they got it.
Yeah.
They're not pulling up to the event in the Bentley,
Yeah.
even though they got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So learning how to like move in a quiet, respectful way,
Yeah.
and picking your own own moments when you want to be like, maybe today's the day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
let people know that like
Yeah.
I like nice things. You know what I
And
mean?
sometimes it ain't even for that reason. It's just because it's for you.
It's just
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. I like that.
Right.
100%. Like, I mean, I do what I do because it makes me happy.
Yeah. Do it for
And
you.
my confidence
Mhm.
level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All the things.
Mhm.
What did
You know what I
Kendrick
mean?
say? I deserve it all.
Yeah, man.
That's
So-
real shit.
But I do respect folks who've got out there, hustled, got the bag, did their thizzle, you know what I mean, and they choose to show their lifestyle in a certain way. If they got that shit out the mud, that's all they let them.
Yeah.
Bro, do your thing.
Yeah.
I just think, man,
Yeah.
like
what I
whatever
mean?
makes you happy,
100%.
do what
Yeah.
you want to do.
You know,
man.
like now my developer network or friends might look at that and be like, you know, he's flashing too much.
Yeah.
Bro, he busted his ass.
But
for
you
that,
don't know.
so he
You
wants
come back to the
yeah.
context. You don't know his struggle.
You don't know his
Yeah.
story.
You
don't
man.
know
like,
his
Let
story.
him show what he wants to show
Yeah.
because that makes that person feel good,
Exactly.
you
Right.
know? So I see both sides of it, but at the end of the day, wealth is long term, it's longevity,
Yeah.
and it's about maintaining. It's about maintenance, yo.
Mm.
It's about maintaining. You can get everything today. Can you hang on to that for 200
Mhm.
years?
Mm.
When you're dead and gone, and you're 7 generations deep, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and is your family still eating off of you 200 years later?
Mm.
That's wealth.
Yep.
That's real. That's real.
Yep. That's
real.
like having $1 million and you buy $1 million house. It's like you can't hold on to that. You know. It's
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, you could, but like,
But yeah, exactly. Like how you gonna hold on to that? You know what I'm saying? If it
let
just,
the roof on a $1
yeah.
million house cave in on you.
Yeah.
Let the plumbing go on a $1 million house.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
man.
Well, Jebediah, first of all, we're kind of nearing the end here, so I did want to ask you this question because in doing research, there was a quote I pulled that was like, it was powerful, but I would like for you to like touch on it. It was from a podcast you did with Nine Dot Arts.
Oh, you saw that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you can't manufacture culture, right? I'm sure people got their own interpretation of what that means, but
Mhm.
how would you describe that? Like, why?
Yeah, man. You can't manufacture culture because we are culture and you can't recreate us.
Yeah.
You can try.
Mm-hmm.
You can try all day long,
Yep.
home skillet, but you cannot recreate what we organically create.
Yeah.
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 And when you do that, everyone knows it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I approach business and real estate development and affordable housing through an organic lens, which is why it's so important to have more Black and brown developers
Mm-hmm.
who come from spaces where we come from, because we're developing with a lens that is organic and
Yeah.
not manufactured.
Yeah.
I'm not trying
Yeah.
to make a Black community. I'm not trying to make a Latino community.
Yeah.
I am those.
Yeah.
But whatever I
There
touch
you
is
go.
gonna be that.
That's
Yeah.
real.
You know what I mean?
That's
And if
real.
I try to recreate an international district, come on, that's not gonna
Mhm.
fly.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
So
No, that's real.
that's kind of what I meant by like manufactured culture. Is there's some projects and people who think you can just bring a couple Black people on board or a couple brown faces on board, and that's what the culture is.
You know, what's interesting about that is I think those people that they do bring on board haven't realized that, yo, you have a responsibility too to gatekeep, or not gatekeep, but protect your culture.
Sure.
right? Because a lot of times it's like it's only being manufactured because someone from our community is allowing it to be. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it just made me think about that too. Like they can if you allow them to, right?
Yeah.
It's not to say we don't
Yeah.
want to provide you access or give you insight, but we're gonna usher you in the way we feel is gonna be beneficial for our community
Same way they did
versus
to us.
letting you just do what you want with us.
Same way they did to us.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's real.
They were like, here's your sandbox. Do not operate outside of that.
Yeah.
This
that's
is
real.
our community, our culture. This is how, and you're going to assimilate to that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
We can do the same thing.
yeah.
Nah, this is our culture over here.
And that's what makes it hard to be on one united front when you got, some folks who are letting it be manufactured, and you're trying to hold your ground. And you're like, yo, are we not on the same plane?
Nope, you're not on the same
You
page.
know what I mean?
I mean, some
tough.
cats you just gotta let go to the wind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what
Like,
it
Yeah,
is.
you're right.
It's nature.
we're not all gonna like each other. We're not all gonna get along, and that's cool. But as long as you respect everybody's hustle
Yes.
and stay out the person's lane,
Mm,
like I'm not gonna jump into the podcast lane.
you should.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. But what I'm saying is
I
like
support it.
it's not my lane.
Yeah. No, I see
You
what
know
you're
what I
saying.
mean?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of folks within our own community. Like I wrote a book, short film
Mhm.
developer. Like like I've done a few things, but I'm not stepping on anybody else's toes who
Yeah.
are like that's their lane.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
like
Yeah.
doing that. You know what I'm saying? And so there's like you got to have respect and pay homage to people who've like been working on building their craft.
That's real.
Yeah.
I'm specifically talking about people in our own community.
Yeah, no,
Right,
I hear you.
right.
I
Everybody
hear you.
else, I'm
I
like,
hear
You
you.
gotta let people
Yo,
shine.
Yo,
you know?
if these cats have been working on this,
Yeah.
and you trying to get in the space, you should just respectfully come get some game from them before you
Right.
just start jumping in and then calling yourself podcast host.
Yeah.
You know, what I
Yeah,
mean?
there is a craft. Everybody, you gotta respect the craft and everything, man.
Mhm.
That's real. That's a word.
Yeah.
That's a word.
So
Definitely.
anyway, I just
Nah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But real
Yeah,
shit,
yeah.
if you want to start a podcast, you should, bro. I
I
support
mean,
it.
man, if I had, even if I had the time, like,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
would it be?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? No, I appreciate y'all giving cats the platform.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
To like say their piece
Hmm.
and just allowing actually other people to get to know them a little bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Especially the people who like doing the work but no one knows about.
Yeah.
Like you said
Yeah.
that earlier.
Yeah,
I just got a lot of respect for that because I think about a few people who I know who are just out here hustling,
Yeah.
gritting and grinding, like
Yeah.
Dr. Timmy Foster and a few other people, but they're not out in the spotlight every
Mhm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
But they're out here really
Yeah.
changing lives, yo.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of game and a lot of wisdom and experience to
Yeah.
share.
Mhm.
And we at the point now, like, man, we know a little bit. Don't know it all, but like, we
Mhm.
know a little bit. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, how do we leverage this knowledge? How do I leverage this game for the next cat coming up?
That's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
real, man.
Definitely. Quick question, I guess. Where do you see the future of real estate development?
Real estate, the
Headed.
future of real estate
Yeah.
development? Well, I'll say this. Nationwide, there's a shortage of 10 million homes
Mm-hmm.
needed, which means there's minimum 10 million families that are needing housing.
You're right. Yeah.
So there will always, in the foreseeable future, be a need to create housing through real estate development.
Hmm.
That's just nationwide. That's not even talking Seattle.
Yeah.
Where are these 10 million homes going to come from
Yep.
to house people in LA, New York, Chicago,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over the place, right?
Yeah.
Seattle. Where are they coming from? You know what I mean? Like, where's the productivity? So I look at it as blue ocean. There's tons of space
Yep.
and opportunity for any young cat coming up who wants to get in the space to start learning now. Like, you got to start learning now
Hmm.
because if you're looking at a gap of 10 million homes, that's not going to close anytime soon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You start researching and start working on your investment development game now, you're going to be able to slot yourself in that 10 million somewhere.
Yeah.
You might be able to develop a few projects.
Yep.
We got 800 units in our pipeline, not even denting 10 million.
Yeah.
You know, like barely
Yeah.
approaching 1,000.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'd rather have 800 than no 100.
That's real.
Right.
Just get in the game.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's a lot of opportunity. There's still a lot of space to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cyclical market. So it's going to go up and down. It's going to have good times and bad times, but you got to stick to the script.
Mm.
Sure.
Stick to the script, man.
I love that.
Yes, sir.
I love it.
Dope,
Future's
man.
bright then. Future's bright.
I'm a developer. every developer you come in contact with should be optimistic.
Yeah.
That's real.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you should not be a developer.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Oh.
Great things are coming, man. So
For real.
Jaebadiah, first off, where can people find you if they do want to get connected? Social media, digitally.
Jaebadiah.com.
Mhm.
Got a whole website out there.
Yep.
Instagram, you can find me on IG at Jaebadiah. Everything's at Jaebadiah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like I keep it simple.
That's
my
good.
my name's unique enough.
Mhm.
I don't need to do anything crazy. Yeah, follow me, follow the journey.
Yes.
We're having a lot of fun opening up doors, picking locks,
Mm-hmm.
getting
Mhm.
straight to the vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, Jaebadiah.com.
Okay. And then we ask every guest this question to close out. So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up and why?
One word?
One word. That's all you got.
One word to describe what keeps me on the up and up. Ooh. Family.
Mm.
Family. That's the first thing that comes to mind, man. I can't be up and up without family.
Mm. Mm. There you
Yeah.
have it. That's
There
real.
You have it.
That's real.
Yeah.
Shout out to the family listening too.
Shout out to the
Just
family,
On that
man.
note.
Fam.
Yeah.
On that note.
To all my fam.
Yes. Well, man, first of all, Jaebadiah, thank you for being here, bro. Thank you for spending time with
Yeah.
us.
Appreciate you, bro.
This is-
Absolutely.
This
Thank
is
you.
this
Yeah.
has been amazing. I know for sure if anybody's listening or watching, they definitely got a lot of free game for sure.
Mhm.
And yeah, thank you for listening and watching. Please reach out. We'd love to get some feedback on this episode always, right? Love to
Sure.
learn about what you are interested in. And keep connecting those dots. But with that being said, man, we wish you much success, bro, moving forward
Yeah.
with everything you
y'all.
got going on.
Same with y'all, man.
Sure,
Keep
man.
pushing, man.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you guys
Thank
and
you.
the platform. Yeah, thank you again for having me. And like at the end of the day, man, like we in this together. So,
Facts. Facts.
whatever I can do to support
Yes,
Mhm.
your movement, let me know, man.
definitely.
Appreciate you, man.
We'll
Likewise, bro.
We can cook
Likewise,
We'll
yeah.
cook something up.
Yeah.
But with that being said, man, I think it's safe to say Jaebadiah Gardner is officially a member of the Up and Up. Can we get a round of applause? Thank you, brother. Thank you so much, bro.
Yes, sir.
To continue supporting the podcast and the entire Up and Up movement, be sure to rate, review, like, and subscribe.
As well as follow us at _ the Up and Up on all social media platforms to stay connected with everything the Up and Up has coming your way.
Thanks for listening, and until the next one.
Keep it on the Up and Up.